Hello. With the World Championships recently ending in Anaheim, California, I wanted to briefly talk about how it all went, how people placed, what won, and to just have a one-on-one with everyone. The juniors division was one of the craziest ones we've had in a while, where we ended up having Luke W. of the US winning. Ran a fairly standard team with just Clear Amulet, Ice Rider, and the Choice Scarf Miraidon. Except they were able to really play out the Trick Room match up against Sasuke of Japan, who was running a really interesting Sun team with Walking Wake. I really thought the Sasuke was going to have it. Like, kid had put up numbers and was just taking names with this team. And the team looked so good into Luke. But just in combination of just Ice Rider and Farigiraf consistently getting up Trick Room and just Iron Hands, and the Landorus put in just insane work. It felt one-sided actually watching the match. They both did great. Honestly, all of the juniors just did great. Then you have Hideo of Japan. They were running, to me, what is like a fairly standard team within this format, except they're running a Choppleberry on Ensign. And this is something that one of my friends was like briefly talking about, but it was so cool to actually see it do well, even if it was in a younger age division, because that alone just throws out so many game plans that they have. Beyond that is a fairly standard Smeargle and Rillaboom. Notably, it was the Nasty Plot variant of Calyrex Shadow instead of Encore, but really impressive. And then we have Fabian. It's a fairly standard team. I do like the fact that they have Landorus over Whimsicott, so you can get the Rain Dance up, or Urshifu. Alternatively, we have saw some Urshifu run Rain Dance for itself. And I personally think that may have been the better option, looking at the other teams that did well. And then we have Damon. This team is, again, it's fairly standard. Most of the juniors and seniors, in my opinion, run fairly standardized teams. And that's just because people are helping them run it. Wow. Running the same exact team. Again, they tend to run fairly standardized teams, and they're just really cool. This one, I really like this. It is, again, standard, but I enjoy Pelipper being on the team, especially with Stellar Terra, because in this format, Pelipper can do a lot between the Hurricane and the Weather Ball. And it's a good wide guard option when you don't want to include Zamazenta or Lunala. This team, though, this was one I thought was just actually insane. The fact that you can, that Scrappy Flamigo with upper hand to stop priority and close combat, just super annoying. And then it had other cool stuff like Revival Blessing Palmot and Rocky Helmet Whim. It was honestly one of my favorite teams that I saw out of the juniors. And I wish we could have saw it on stream. Alright, now to move on to the seniors. It ended up being, the whole thing got won by Kevin Hahn. So no real surprise. But there was the top 8 of seniors was absolutely stacked. We had Kevin Hahn, Leland Smith, Connor B, Minwoo, Cian, Soda, Felipe, and Vikram. But it ended up coming down to Cian versus Kevin Hahn. Kevin Hahn went flawless at the event, never lost a single game. They were running Amoonguss, Miraidon, Ice Rider, Ensign, Lando, and Urshifu. The team was just really cool. And with Cian, this was a fairly standard team, but the game that they had is truly one of the most iconic games that we've ever had in the game in VGC. Vikram ended up running a pretty cool team, because it was Groudon and Ice Rider, except the Ice Rider had never melt ice, just so that Groudon could keep its clear amulet. Connor's team is one I like, because I just love the combination of Ruination POW with Zamazenta and Calyrex Shadow Rider. Because Zamazenta rarely picks up one-hit KOs with Body Press, but it'll do like 60 to 70%, and Ruination just halves the target's HP. So it ends up making Zamazenta insane, and then since Calyrex gets a special attack boost when it KOs something, it's normally like a slower, bulky Calyrex, so Chien-Pao can hit it for 50% and then it comes in and finishes. Then we have Soda. Soda is a fairly standard Miraidon Lunala team, except it is notably Life Orb Lunala instead of Choice Scarf or Specs. Leland was also running the Never Melt Ice, Calyrex Ice Rider, and Clear Amulet Groudon. Again, it's just a super cool team that does really well. I actually think, they were probably team building this together. Really interesting to me that they were running Never Melt Ice. Felipe was just Shadow Rider's on Zamazenta, fairly standard all the way around. And then Minwoo was AV Miraidon, which is kind of like fallen off it's fallen off in recent months. But, it was Choice Scarf Urshifu and just the generic Clear Amulet Ice Rider. Alright, now to go into the ones that are like really, the real big one of the day. Kosuke was against James Evans. And it was Montana Mott, Michael Kelsch, Hirofumi Kimura, Victor Medina, Mao Harada, and Giovanni. It ended up coming down that Giovanni would beat out James Evans in a near mirror match for the World Championship title. Giovanni was running what I thought was a really cool team going into it, with the Parastellar Fluttermane just being able to pick up some really big damage with Moonblast and Shadow Ball. And it was Life Orb Koraidon, which fell off some, and very notably, Citrus Berry Brute Bonnet. Citrus Berry is more of a rare item to be used in this format, since Ice Rider and Shadow Rider turn off berries. James Evans was also running Koraidon, Brute Bonnet, which was that's the main core of the team. Both of them were running a, Ghost Psychic type. This one was Shadow Rider instead of Lunala. But this team is just way more defensive. The Sash on Shadow Rider and then Ensign and Raging Bolt. It's a very defensive team. Hirofumi's team is the Leech Seed Ice Rider with Clear Amulet Koraidon and just Smeargle with Ruination, which I still think is really cool since Ice Rider is notably doing 50%-ish to most things. And it gets an attack boost every time it KOs something. So it's just allowing Ice Rider to do all kinds of degenerate stuff. Montana Mott This was a team that I did not expect. It's Choice Band Dragonite with Extreme Speed, Low Kit, Aqua Jet, and Outrage. We've not saw much Dragonite inside of Regulation I. And it done really well. I'm sure it was a mon that was not brought to every game. But I can see where it put in a lot of work for him throughout the tournament. Go Sukade. This was a player I thought was going to win. The games that we saw Go play were truly just some of the most insane games of anyone at this tournament. The team looks fairly basic all the way around. Again, it is notably the Life Orb Koraidon so it can protect. And I personally think that this is my favorite and, in my opinion, one of the better versions of Miraidon. Just because of it being able to protect, it allows you just to play so much more defensive. Michael Kelsch. He was playing, again, a fairly generic team, except he was also running the Choice Band Dragonite. And, both of them are AV Chien-Pao with Ruination. This Chien-Pao set is really cool. And I've saw it pick up some usage since the first day of Worlds. But I don't think anyone was really preparing for the fact that you can make Chien-Pao live attacks. Mao was playing Life Orb, Shadow Rider, and Koraidon, but also Fluttermane. The double ghost weakness had to make this tournament really hard to do just with the amount of Shadow Rider that was out there. And just Shadow Rider 8. Victor Medina was playing Smeargle on the team. And I really like Smeargle in this format, but I do wish that we had Ruination on this or Decorate. But that's just more of a me playstyle thing. Worlds had some of the craziest sets we've ever saw this year. And it's just going to keep getting bigger and more difficult. The big thing to me to take away from this was that anyone that is there can win it. And having bets and goals of who you think will win is just so hard to gauge. I really thought Miraidon was going to do good. And honestly, was disappointed in it. But we did see that Miraidon ended up winning seniors, I believe. Yeah. Almost the exact team I thought was going to do good in Masters won seniors. I did not expect the Koraidon dominance that happened in Masters Division. I mean, it was 1, 2, 3, 4 Koraidons in top 8. Everyone was so worried about Calyrex, Shadow Rider, Zamazenta, when we really should have been worried about Koraidon.